All right, let's talk about India and AI. There's so much hype out there, right? Well, we're going to cut through all of that today. Forget the buzzwords. We're going to look at the real systems, the hard constraints, and what's actually possible.
So, you've seen the headlines, I'm sure. They all ask this one big question. Will India win the AI race? It's this high-stakes global competition narrative. You know, winners and losers. It's super compelling, for sure. But what if I told you that's completely the wrong way to think about it?
Yeah, that's right. The whole idea of an AI race, it's just a catchy phrase, but honestly, it's super misleading. It makes you think they're just going to be winners and losers, the simple binary, but that's just not how it works. The reality is way more complex.
So let's ask a better question, a more useful one. Instead of a race, let's think of it like a system. The real question is, what does AI realistically enable for India, given its current structure? And, just as important, what are the built-in limits that technology just can't fix on its own? This is the lens we're going to use for this whole explainer.
Okay, so to get our arms around this, we're going to break down India's AI system into 5 key parts. Think of them as pillars. You've got compute power, talent, data, regulation, and the private sector. Let's kick things off with the absolute foundation of it all, compute. Okay, first up, compute. And right away, we see this huge gap between what people think is happening and what's actually happening. The perception is, you see all these new cloud services and data centers popping up, and it looks like massive growth. But the reality? India has very little control over the really high-end compute you need for cutting-edge AI. It's a huge consumer, a great integrator, but not a supplier. And that creates a major dependency when it comes to access and, of course, price.
All right, pillar number 2, talent. And the story here is kind of similar. The headline numbers? Wow, they're impressive. A massive number of STEM graduates every year. But when you dig a little deeper, you find this really important distinction. The country's strength is in applying AI, taking models that already exist and deploying them. But the talent pool for actually creating brand new foundational models from scratch, or for doing that super advanced research, that's much smaller. It's a classic case of breadth versus depth.
And you know what? That same idea, breadth versus depth, applies perfectly to our next pillar, which is data. This quote really says it all. Volume does not equal usability. I mean, on paper, you'd think India's massive population gives it this incredible data advantage, right? But in the real world, that data is a mess. It's fragmented, it's locked up in different government and private systems that don't talk to each other, and then you have to deal with data quality issues and the legal situation that's still figuring itself out. So you can have a giant ocean of data, but it doesn't do you any good if you can't get to it, clean it up, and legally use it. Okay, let's wrap up this section with our last 2 pillars. And you're going to see a pattern here. Regulation, the intent is absolutely there. The government wants to promote AI. But the ability to actually execute those policies everywhere, it's a bit uneven. And the private sector, world-class at using and adapting AI, no question. But it's just not really set up to take on the huge, long-term financial bets you need to make to build those foundational models from the ground up.
All right, so we've looked at all the individual pieces of the puzzle. Now, let's zoom out and put them all together. Let's see how they interact to create this really unique picture of strengths, constraints, and some really tough trade-offs.
This table really lays it all out. On one side, you've got these incredible strengths, right? A massive market, a real knack for cost-effective innovation, and this amazing ability to roll things out at a huge scale. But then you look at the other side. You see the constraints, the crazy amount of money needed for top-tier AI, a reliance on foreign models, and a labor market that's pretty vulnerable. And all of that forces these really difficult choices you see in that last column. Like, do you go for speed and just use foreign models, or do you take it slow and build your own control? These aren't easy questions.
And this right here is probably the most important point so far. AI isn't some magic wand. It doesn't make those hard choices just vanish. What it does is act like a giant magnifying glass. It takes all the trade-offs and tensions that are already in the system and just makes them bigger and louder. So if AI is going to magnify everything, what does that actually look like down the road? What are the ripple effects going to be as it gets woven into the economy and society? Let's talk about some of those second and third order effects.
Okay, check this out because this is something a lot of people get wrong. When we think automation, we usually picture a robot on a factory floor, right? But with today's generative AI, it's actually the white-collar jobs that are on the front lines. Things like coding, writing reports, customer service, those tasks are way more vulnerable right now than a lot of physical blue-collar work. Kind of flips the script, doesn't it?
And this could create some serious problems. It could widen the gaps we already have. Think about it. The productivity boost from AI might just go to the companies and cities that are already doing well, which would just make inequality worse. And then there's education. What happens if the value of a college degree drops faster than schools can change what they teach? You end up with a huge gap between what people are learning and what the world actually needs them to do.
And we can't forget the geopolitical side of this. It's a huge deal. If all of your critical infrastructure, we're talking everything from online shopping to government services, is running on AI models built and controlled by someone else, well, that puts a serious limit on your independence. It ties your hands on the world stage.
Now, pointing all this out isn't about being negative. It's about being realistic. And you can only build a good strategy on a foundation of realism. So given everything we've talked about, the strengths, the weaknesses, what does a smart, pragmatic AI strategy for India actually look like?
The key word is selective. You can't do everything at once. So in the short term, say the next 2 to 4 years, the smart play is to focus on using AI to solve real specific problems at home. Think healthcare, agriculture, public services. You have to resist that urge to chase the latest, greatest, most expensive models just for bragging rights. Then, looking a little further out, 5 to 10 years, the goal should be to build up that core capacity, things like regional compute centers, and really shake up the education system to focus on skills that matter.
So, this all brings us back to where we started. And this is the main thing to take away from all this. AI is not a shortcut. It's not some cheat code that lets a country skip all the hard work and just jump to the front of the line. That whole idea of winning the AI race, it's a myth.
So what is it then? It's a force multiplier. That's the best way to think about it. It takes whatever systems you already have and just makes them more of what they are. If your system is already good and efficient, AI can make it great. It'll amplify your success. But if you apply AI to a system that's weak or broken, all it's going to do is multiply the problems and the inefficiency.
And I'll leave you with this final thought. When it comes to a national AI strategy, the biggest danger isn't some big, spectacular flameout. It's the quiet, slow, creeping failure of just underperforming. And that's what happens when your strategy is built on hype instead of a clear-eyed look at reality. Because in the end, AI rewards realism. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.